In the wake of the recent meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, the world's eyes have been fixed on speeches, handshakes, and headlines. But perhaps the most important story isn't unfolding in conference rooms. It's happening on the water. Far from cameras and podiums, a U.S. aircraft carrier has taken up position off the coast of Alaska. The USS Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most powerful warships, is now operating in waters that look directly across to Russia's Far East. The timing is no accident, and the message, whether subtle or not, is impossible to ignore. The Abraham Lincoln is a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, displacing over 100,000 tons and carrying a crew of more than 5,000. Her decks host around 60 aircraft, squadrons of F-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, E-2D Hawkeyes, and Seahawk helicopters. Together, they give the ship the ability to control airspace, strike land targets, jam enemy communications, and hunt submarines. Operating off Alaska places this floating airbase just a short flight away from the Bering Strait and the approaches to Russia's Pacific Fleet bases in Vladivostok and Petropavlovsk. It also places the carrier near the Arctic, where melting ice is opening new sea routes and intensifying competition for resources. The Lincoln is never alone. A carrier strike group surrounds her like bodyguards around a head of state. Typically, this includes one Ticonderoga-class cruiser for air defense coordination, 2 to 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, each with the Aegis system and vertical launch cells carrying Tomahawk cruise missiles, SM-2 and SM-6 interceptors, and anti-submarine weapons and a fast attack submarine, usually a Virginia-class, operating unseen below the surface. Together, they form a mobile, layered defense system. Any adversary thinking of challenging the Lincoln would face a gauntlet of radar, missiles, aircraft, and torpedoes long before they got close. The Pacific Northwest and Arctic waters are known playgrounds for submarines. Russia's Pacific Fleet maintains ballistic missile subs, designed to carry nuclear warheads, as well as attack submarines that shadow American movements. The U.S., in turn, deploys Virginia-class submarines that can quietly patrol, track Russian vessels, or unleash Tomahawk strikes with almost no warning. When the Lincoln operates near Alaska, it's not just about the carrier's visibility. It's also about the invisible duel under the waves. Each carrier deployment implies that American submarines are fanning out, monitoring Russian traffic, and ensuring that the Lincoln herself is never vulnerable. Why here? Why now? The official explanation might be simple: routine operations, training exercises, scheduled deployments. But geopolitics is rarely that simple. The Lincoln's presence off Alaska comes just after a Putin-Trump meeting that has fueled speculation and debate. No matter what was said behind closed doors, the U.S. Navy has chosen this exact moment to position one of its carriers at Russia's doorstep in the Pacific. Coincidence? Perhaps. But the optics are clear. From Moscow's point of view, the Lincoln's flight deck full of strike fighters is a reminder that American power can reach Russian territory not only from Europe, but from the other side of the globe. Alaska is more than a remote frontier. It's a vantage point into 3 critical regions: the Arctic, where melting ice is opening the northern sea route, vital for Russia's economy and military logistics; the Pacific, where China and Russia increasingly coordinate naval exercises; the U.S. homeland. Alaska is America's northern shield, with strategic air bases and missile defenses already stationed there. By sending a carrier group into this theater, the U.S. is demonstrating that its northern flank is not passive. It's active, armed, and ready. So what message does the Lincoln send? To Russia, it could mean several things. Deterrence, a warning that any adventurism in the Arctic or Pacific will be met with overwhelming force. Reassurance to allies, Japan, South Korea, and even NATO partners watching from across the Atlantic can see that the U.S. is not distracted by Middle Eastern crises alone. It can still flex its muscles in the Pacific North. Strategic ambiguity, keeping Russia guessing. Is the Lincoln there for exercises? For surveillance? For preparation of something larger? That uncertainty itself is a weapon. Aircraft carriers are more than war machines. They are political signals visible from satellites, from fishing boats, from television broadcasts. The Lincoln off Alaska is not hidden. It is meant to be noticed. Every takeoff of a Super Hornet, every maneuver of a destroyer, every sonar ping from an accompanying submarine is part of a performance aimed at an audience in Moscow. The audience cannot ignore it, even if it pretends to. Of course, signaling has risks. Russian aircraft may choose to shadow the Lincoln. Russian submarines may try to track the strike group, testing the limits of American patience. In such encounters, a miscalculation, a radar lock, a close flyby, a submarine collision could escalate quickly. That is the paradox of carrier diplomacy. The very act of deterrence can also spark confrontation. At the same time, the Lincoln's deployment must be viewed in a global context. The USS Gerald R. Ford has moved into the North Sea, closer to Europe. The USS Nimitz has been operating near the Middle East. The US is not concentrating its power in one theater. It is spreading carriers across 3 flashpoints at once. For Russia, this means pressure from multiple directions. The Lincoln off Alaska shows that even if attention is focused on Europe or Ukraine, the US can reach Russia's Pacific front. It reminds the Kremlin that it cannot assume safety on one flank while conflict brews on another. The Abraham Lincoln off Alaska is more than a warship in motion. It is a message, quiet, deliberate, and strategic. To the casual observer, it may look like another naval exercise. To Moscow, it is a reminder that American power sails close to Russian waters. Not only in the Atlantic, but in the Pacific too. Whether this move was long scheduled or timed as a response to global politics is almost secondary. In geopolitics, perception is reality. And right now, the reality is that one of America's most powerful carriers is operating at Russia's doorstep, at the very moment when the world is wondering what was agreed, or not agreed, between Putin and Trump. In the end, maybe that's the real message. Whatever deals are struck, whatever words are exchanged, the steel giants of the US Navy keep sailing, and their presence, off Alaska or anywhere else, speaks louder than any diplomatic communique. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on global naval developments.